Good evening, citizens. My name is Ban Shattersong, former captain of the Bloody Hands Mercenary Company. And today we're going to be talking about the Saturday of E1. Now, I have two very special guests with me, so, without further ado, special guests, reveal yourselves. Just the quiet chuckling in the background.
Sorry,
Did nobody
it
else
was
like
too
the
tempting.
take me out intro and then silence?
Well, the problem is we weren't sure. We've got no eye contact. Can't tell you who's going first, so it's that
Yeah.
trepidation of like, woo. Anyway,
It's that
I'm
improv game,
Matty.
yes. And I'm Sol, and we were not on last episode talking
We
about
were
how
not.
we would be
No,
on
no, no.
the next episode, so we're definitely surprise guests.
Yeah, super surprising.
Yeah, very surprising. I'm surprised. Are you surprised?
No, Saturday.
Oh.
Wow.
Let's
Jesus.
get right into it.
God, that felt like a car. Like watching a car just hit a fucking raccoon in the road. The raccoon of hope.
Who's the car? Who's the raccoon?
The raccoon is you.
Who's the
Sol.
raccoon?
Well, the raccoon probably didn't make it, so
Yeah, that's just mean. That's uncalled for.
Right.
What do you mean? Nothing's gone wrong yet. It's a Saturday.
I need another bottle of Carver.
Oh.
This is a more appropriate time of day to be drinking Carver than last time. Yeah, anyone who listened to that last time, I had one of those mini bottles of Carver to myself, commiserating the thing that we talked about that I'm not going to mention now, because if you didn't listen to it last time, fine, whatever, it's a spoiler now. If you did, great. I had a whole one of those, which is like 2 large glasses. It was the middle of the afternoon, and I hadn't eaten any lunch. It was an interesting afternoon. Much like it was an interesting event.
A solemn
event.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of solemn, Sol, do you want to kick us off? Shut up, Matty.
Say anything.
Do you want to start off the Saturday morning? And I think realistically, the first thing is monstering, right?
Woke up.
Fuck. Oh.
Put on my monstering gear. Put on my new Orc mask.
Ooh.
The morning I wake up.
And we got prepared for an emu. Or an EMU.
Oh, yes. It was the first outing.
It was
first outing of the Black Scar EMU.
Yeah.
Organised by Rifflin Finn.
In conversation with the head honcho, Andy Connell, to get it all cleared and sorted before time.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
It sounded like it took quite a lot of effort.
Yeah, he'd prepared. Well, a lot of effort from him. We had to get like 20 of us locked in, making sure.
Yeah, herding cats.
We had to choose what Orc Nation we wanted to focus on to start with, which conveniently was Druge. And we are monstering as Druge on the morning.
Yeah,
to pick a archetype as well, and I think we were Packad, which are like heavy skirmishers.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that kind of hang back, wait, and then exploit a gap, pummel them. So everyone was kind of like, "Oh, do we really have to put on our heavy armor?" But when we were just told that we're basically just going to get to wait for a bit, it wasn't as bad. But we also had Finn had prepared some of like the green cloth cuts that he had from his armor, and had made them into like these Rambo style headbands.
Yep,
it was awesome.
Nice.
we did look like a unit of Druge commandos, especially when we were just lurking. So a couple of us taking the knee, hiding around corners and stuff. I don't know how it looked from everyone else's point of view, but from my point of view, we genuinely looked like an elite military unit. Just something about headgear that makes soldiers look more professional.
Yeah.
It's like berets, right? Anyone with a beret on, you just assume they can kill you with their pinky finger, right?
We were joined by David Rizart as well, who normally refs, but he actually came and made a pull this time. One of the lone archers.
To us, that's behind the scenes, I think he was debating up until quite the last minute whether or
Pretty
not
much,
he would
yeah.
ref or EMU, because it's, they're both got their pros and cons.
But yeah, it was pretty good. A lot of it was E1. Perhaps not as fit as we would be by the end of the year. I was fine. I'm speaking on behalf of others. When we got there, we had to run up the side of the tree line up to Andy Connell where he does the briefing. And a few of us had got there at the front. There were some stragglers straggling behind quite a way. And as he was kind of waiting along, he was kind of tutting and he was like, I was promised they would run. Which was pretty funny. But yeah, we got our briefing. It was honestly, it was like I think it was pitched to us as a proto EMU, as in fresh, ready to learn. So looking forward to hopefully progressing with that. It was a lot of fun. Meanwhile, Matty, what did you get up to?
Oh, well, I went for a bit of a wander. So unusually for me, I normally battle ref, as has been mentioned before on this illustrious podcast.
I think barely a few minutes ago, right?
No,
oh,
you
no,
didn't actually mention it.
no, actually. Damn it.
No, you're talking about someone else. Caught out, my friend. Yeah, no, I normally ref.
Well,
I have refed for a long
wraps
time.
up this episode. Thanks for listening in.
No, I've been battle reffing for probably, I think it's a year at this point, which has been really, really interesting, really educational, and just a slightly nicer pace. I found I enjoy it more than monstering personally. I've had a good time. I've learned a lot, but I've also been able to feel like I'm of good use as well. But yeah, unfortunately, I had a medical reason not to be able to ref, which I won't go into too much detail on. It's nothing crazy. It's just kind of a boring medical story. But I wandered down to, or up to God to the gate, checked in with the head of the ref team, or the heads of the ref team, the lovely Rich and Emma, just to check in with them, which is, yeah, I feel like I was able to get to the gate. I wasn't like, my leg wasn't bandaged or I wasn't rolling around in pain. So it felt like the right thing to do to go down and say, hey, soz, not going to work out, I don't think. What should I do? And also just check in about what to do with the next day's battling and stuff. Because unfortunately, I'm a perpetual rules follower. That's also why I want to be a battle ref and all of that. So I did feel like I wanted to check in, and I know them, and I didn't want to get spotted wandering around for people to go, hey, you're cheating, because that doesn't feel good. So I instead was very immediately and firmly instructed to go and get a drink and some food and enjoy myself on the behalf of the ref team, and went for a wander. It was really weird. I don't know if I guess you haven't really non-commed like.
I've never been in Anvil
Never?
during a battle. I've always been on the field.
It's a strange vibe. I've done it one time before on a previous character I had one event with, and I was like, maybe I'll go as a non-com, and it wasn't for me in the end. But it was very, very strange. I kind of wandered. I got ready nice and slowly. I didn't really want to do anything. I had this kind of weird feeling in the back of my head, like it was time that I shouldn't be using. It just felt weird. Anyway, I ended up wandering around Navarre for a bit, talking to some people, following Travid around, inevitably left Travid behind at some point, walked up to the gate to see what was happening as everyone had run through the gate. I think I popped by God, got some stuff done, and I ended up running... at the gate I ended up running into a couple of the other generals, which was really nice, and they were going to go and have a chat, so I just tagged along, because it was about military strategy, which, surprise, surprise, is kind of my thing, and exactly what I was wanting to talk about. So a couple of us went to Dawn, into the Beaumont. I got to sit in Beaumont's chair. Tancred told me to do it, so,
The Beaumont, sorry?
Right. Now, forgive me, because I've only heard this, and I could have got it wrong, but I believe that they've called the giant, massive fuck-off tent of the Durandals, the big blue tent, I believe it's known as the Beaumont. Because it's a behemoth. Right. And it's, I believe, Beaumont is the head of the... rondels. I don't really know how Dawn works. Apologies in advance. But yeah, it was really nice. Sat down inside, chilled out, talked through loads of military things. It's really nice to get to talk about these things like in small groups, because different small groups, you get lots of different opinions, advice, tips, answers, that kind of thing. But also you can really pitch your ideas, and like I was able to ask loads of questions, double check things, also pitch things, to people on a smaller scale that didn't feel quite so overwhelming and not so pressed for time. Also got some Bucks Fizz, which was nice. And then Azanath dropped by. We shared a cookie. It was nice. It was just really quite wholesome and productive. It was very strange. And then you guys all came back, and I had to go to standing and stuff. That was it.
That
But
does
I
sound
got a
quite
lot done
wholesome.
in that. It really was. I got a lot done. I talked to Warcaster. We talked about rituals, talked about ideas, talked through strategy. And I tell you what, compared to last summit, this one was quite a contentious one in terms of what armies were going to go where on the Western Front, so the side that I'm on. Because there were two, both very valid ideas that conflicted fairly heavily, and everyone had very passionate arguments for. So it was really right down to the wire, but that's more of a Sunday thing, and later on in Saturday. But yeah, it was a really interesting chat. It was good to talk to people every time you have these conversations. I mean, you guys have the same thing. No matter where, if you end up sitting down talking about stuff with a little group of people for an hour, that's where the bonding time comes from as well. That's where you build the connections, the jokes, the conversations, that
The
kind of
IC
thing
chatter.
with people.
Not
Yeah,
like camp
exactly.
chatter. This is with other characters you don't really know, but by the end of it you do.
Yeah, exactly. Like it felt like chatting with colleagues about work, but then just like enjoying it, and also just getting to know each other in terms of that kind of thing as well. And Tancred, who is one of the generals of Dawn, spoiler alert, not really, but he's one of the what we would call probably tactical heads in the tent. So he's one of the ones that comes up with, I think everyone should go here, and these people should go here, and that, and we'll do this ritual and that. And he's really, really good at that. Like he's really made kind of a reputation for himself in doing that. So I was super excited to have a good chat with him about it. IC, because you can have as many chats as you like, OC, about how things work, but I really wanted to have those conversations IC and also build up a bit more reputation of like, that's stuff that I'm interested in. So yeah, it was good to build on that. And yeah, that was it. That was my Saturday morning. It went by so easily. It didn't go too fast. It didn't go too slow. 10 out of 10 Saturday morning.
Oh, nice. That's the thing. You don't want to be bored
Yeah.
at Empire. I mean,
No,
I'd argue
I think
for
I
us
was.
it's hard to be bored, but some of my early events, I was bored in the afternoon. I was
I
like,
was definitely
what's going
bored the
on?
last time I non-commed
Mm.
because I didn't have stuff to do and I didn't have people to hang out with. But there are, obviously there are other generals, there are other people in positions, there are a lot of people in positions that don't take the field who are hanging around. So there's a lot of those kind of conversations you can have. And we had a conversation later on the military council tent about how actually, because this thing keeps rearing its head of, you're not automatically a battlefield commander if you're a general, and that's true. There are quite a lot of generals who are also battlefield commanders. They just seem to carry a lot of the same skills. But
is this
there are lots of
urge to
benefits
kill,
to being
right?
non-com.
That's the
The urge to kill, the need to defeat an enemy continuously, and to compete with your fellow nations. No, but it was really interesting. So I was kind of going, yeah, actually, I really liked that. If there was if things were different, that there might have been a conversation to be had about what was going to happen going forwards. But
is this when we smash cut to what Chris and Sol were doing whilst monstering? Because there's
Running away.
This is where we intercut the screaming and whacking of foam weapons.
I'm not gonna lie.
And then back to me sipping my Bucks Fizz in a little tankard, sharing it with Asana.
A lot of running away. The entire Druge line seemed to just keep fleeing and retreating. It was an absolute nightmare, honestly. We got some good scraps in there. I made it to the very end as my one boy.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
And then had to basically take on an entire line by myself with a spear, and it didn't go well. But I was going, right, well, this is it. Nowhere else to go. No one coming with me. So this is it. And well, I tried to take down as many as I could as I went down, but very little you could do. Still good fun. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like this is foreshadowing in the fact that it felt like we were very outnumbered.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It did not feel like we had the force mass to actually resist the Imperials. I mean, to maybe go
Yeah.
against the grain. I'm a little bit salty about. I mean, the battles in general across E1, but especially the monstering on Saturday because our unit was cool.
We followed our brief as well.
Yeah, I suppose we did, but in terms of like you come out and sometimes regardless of the brief, you say, "Oh, that was a tasty little scrap. That was good. Got my ass handed to me, but you know what? I enjoyed that." Because we didn't like you point out, Sol. We didn't really take many casualties, but a lot of the fight was kind of just standing in a line, ooga boogering each other, and then running off if anything bad happened, and then rinse and repeat. And we didn't really get stuck in and kill many Imperials or
because we had like a
get
unit of
murdered.
20, and we were waiting to basically find a unit of similar size that were engaged that we could then rock into. The problem is we were the heavies at the back, inverted commas, waiting for that opportunity. Instead, all that happened was all of the lines around us folded, and we were in front again. It's the thing that happens just in general.
Yeah.
Black Scar have found themselves in that situation before.
Yeah, that's a very OC skill thing as well. That's people tend to not hold lines like professional soldiers, right?
There's holding lines, there's running, and then there's running until there's literally nowhere else you could go, which was this.
We did get cornered.
That's
the
like
Brass Coast
the
got us,
panic of
Matty.
the orcs
The
at
Brass
end
Coast
of
got
Return
us.
of the King.
Yeah, but
Sauron goes down and they just start fleeing.
But at least Gothmog is like, pikes in front, archers behind. Like, there's a semblance of order, and at least some of them are there to resist the Rohirrim.
Are you saying that the heroes and monsters of the Empire are less organized than the orcs of Mordor?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that's actually the crux of the matter.
I think, and I mean, it is again, it's experience, it's understanding, it's all of those things, and I think there was a lot of green on the field, so to know, it's not actually having to go at anyone in particular. It's more just the player base, general,
more general hatred.
There were so many times I basically was bouncing between units after ours basically got pushed back as far as go to just try and get some action moving, and I'd get like 2 people next to me, and then go, all right, let's go for the charge, and then it would be like one of those 2 manages to actually get there with me, and then it's like, well, now it's 2 versus 7. Okay, well, this isn't going to go well. Let's back off.
Yeah,
and that's basically what the entire fight. No one put any. Well, I'm sure there were other places on the battlefield, but wherever we were, just no useful charges.
Yes, I think that
useless.
Yeah, we didn't commit at any point because on the field we got pushed off the main field super easy. We didn't even charge. I don't think we ever charged. I think we just received a couple charges in the woods, but on the main field we just the whole line kind of dithered of Uek, what's going on, and it's such a shame because the Imperials got spawn camped basically by some of the Druge Outrider units, which was absolutely awesome to watch. We watched this swirling whirlpool of Druge light infantry charge into the vanguard of the Imperial army, and they fucked them up. They fucked them up good. We were sat there trying to peek round the woods and the hedges, seeing the corpses piling up on the other side of the Sentinel Gate, and it was fucking mint. It was absolutely awesome. And of course, OC they retreat to give the Imperial space to deploy, but it felt very Drugey and it looked cool. It's just a shame the rest of the fight didn't really pan out that way because we
were supposed to actually back into the woods pretty quickly, but the problem is we backed into the woods and then there were.
Well, it just turns into another fucking gate fight. Yeah, I hate that. Yeah. Like, I know there's mass repels are basically designed for that kind of scenario, but they're just not prevalent enough.
Even with Druge, though, you've got other tactics other than holding the gate, i.e., creating that funnel and then cutting people. Like, you gotta play more Druge,
Yeah.
We were very static Druge, which shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
But
and also
other than that, the EMU stuff was good.
One thing I did hear, one critique that I have heard. There are always critiques that fly around about the battles and things. Everything's constantly improving. This one did have quite a few. The numbers thing is something I've brought up, and I am actually going to send an email to feedback at, so I am gathering that information for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more information they have, the better. It's not an angry rant, it's just feedback. They do like feedback. And for anyone listening, there is an email called feedback@profounddecisions.co.uk where you can just send your feedback of how the event went, specific things. You could send great feedback if you want to. I'm also going to send a thanks to a specific ref on the field in the same email, probably. Or maybe a separate email, so he gets the
Is this Captain Fredo?
Yes, Captain Fredo.
Nice,
Yeah, indeed.
nice.
Indeed. Who we'll cover tomorrow. Rather on Sundays of Sunday's thing, not necessarily tomorrow. I'm so in the moment, you know. But yeah, one of the things that did get brought up was that both the battles didn't quite feel like they were necessarily in character as those barbarian nations.
Mm-hmm.
So the Druge didn't feel super Drugey, and the Jotun didn't feel super Jotun-y. And in some ways, the Druge fight sounds more like a Jotun fight that just got routed.
I would agree.
The Jotun felt more like a Druge fight, probably because of the numbers of Yagara who tend to act more Drugey than they do Jotun-y, which is actually not the brief, unfortunately. But you know, there's the whole issue. Well, no, it was the March bullshit that kind of turned into pokey, Drugey, stabby, Navarre bullshit, really, kind of what it felt like. This is very tongue in cheek. Please don't at me. But also, yeah, there was a lot of like they weren't. This is more of a Sunday thing. I won't go into too much detail right now. But yeah, it felt more like a Jotun fight, more like a Druge fight on Sunday than it did a Jotun fight, which was some of the issue. The numbers thing is really interesting. So because I was walking around, the one thing that I did notice was how many people were in camp compared to what like they has been previously. And obviously I didn't see the numbers, but I know weapons check numbers were like, oh, it's a bit lighter than normal when it came to the monsters on Saturday and therefore the fighters on Sunday. When we went to battle on Sunday, I definitely was like, oh, I'm sure I'm kind of expecting there to be more people mustering for Navarre, but there aren't. So there is, I think, a conversation to be had. Again, this is what I'm feeding back about the fact that as numbers grow, the proportion of com to non-coms is not growing equally. It's not growing evenly at all.
Would you say there's more non-coms joining the game system than comms, or the other way around?
I would. Yeah, I would. I think I think proportionally, there's more people non-com now at E4, at E1 than there were at E4.
That's cool.
By a fairly large difference. It felt like a difference. I don't have numbers, obviously. I'm kind of guessing all this based on anecdotal evidence that I've got.
Anvil felt alive rather than like a ghost.
Yeah, there were big groups of people, particularly in Navarre. It was like a massive group of people because I was kind of like, have they not left to go monstering yet? And then realized that no, they were just, you know, non-coms having a meeting. And all this to say, obviously, caveat, no issue with people being non-com at all. That's not a problem. The issue comes from not knowing how many are going to be fighting or not fighting. So the force weightings and the numbers that we are given to balance as part of the muster on Friday when we're deciding who fights on what thing are based on the numbers of players attending, of course. And you can't guarantee that every single person who says they'll fight would fight or the other way around. But you could at least take out quite a lot of the margin of error if you had some way of registering on ticket purchase.
Yeah,
or
Tickbox. Are you planning to be com, non-com, or mixed?
Yeah, I wouldn't go as detailed
you don't
as
even
that
need to be
because
mixed,
I think the mixed is a problem because it's how many people go through the gate. So are you planning on taking the field of battle for a major conjunction or not? That's the real thing. That's the only numbers that we really need. And if you're not, you could put a thing on your character sheet, on your profile, whatever, what do you call it? Your character page, tick a thing, and then if that's changed, you could untick it.
Yeah, it's also not to say that if you ticked that and then something else changed at the event, and like that wouldn't mess
exactly.
Things up.
It's not the individual 1 or 2 or even 10 cases that change. It's when you have the 50 or 60 that because we are getting numbers that big at this stage that make a big difference. So I'll probably talk more about it on Sunday, because there was actually some really relevant stuff about how it went on Sunday that I think this really heavily impacted. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting.
It's nice.
It's certainly it's a foible. It's a bug that needs fixing. That's it. It's just something for them to look into.
Oh yeah, the force
moving
waiting
forward.
is a bit, it's not a very
force
good
waiting is
Fermi
tough.
problem solution there. But
It's not, and it does make a big difference, as we know. If you are outnumbered on the field, you are physically outnumbered on the field. There's very little you can do to stand up to those amounts of people. It's just
apart
numbers.
from camp a gate. But anyway, it's nice for Anvils are live when the battles are going on, because that is when you talk to some people about, like, let's say I'm pitching to my rugby mates, right? Like, LARP's great because you drink, you fight all day, you drink all night. That appeals to that kind of crowd. But that is not everyone's shtick. They might want to be a researcher, an apothecary, a priest, like Martin is, for example, as a politician as well.
Well,
the battle
the
side
people
just
that come
doesn't
with
appeal.
Kids nowadays as well, like
It is
they
really
want to hang
sweet,
out with
isn't
their
it?
kids and have a nice environment and all that.
There's something
it's a
lovely
lot.
about
And
the academy as well. Like you see kids going around in their little like icy hats, like the babies have
it's
little
so
marcher
cute.
caps on. It's very sweet.
God, children in Empire costumes, incredible.
Yeah.
Lineaged children in Empire costumes,
yeah.
a whole other level of cute. They're amazing. I love them.
Like a
But
4-year-old with
it's
antlers.
good.
You're like, what is going on? I love it.
I will say there's also more and more people, particularly in like title holders, who just choose not to take the field. If you've been playing for a really long time, then taking a season off or a couple of seasons off is quite nice. You can always do a skirmish if you really want to go and fight once in a while.
You
can
try
go and do
and
other
get a
LARPs,
skirmish.
you can do events. Yeah, I know. But
more
you
on
know
that
what I mean? Like,
later.
especially if you're titled, you're more likely to be able to get onto a skirmish because you're usually in a position where you are maybe in responsibility within your nation, or you might have a good reputation for fighting.
Or a bad
or you can
one.
be leading one.
or a terrible reputation.
One.
And you still
said
get to
more
go.
likely. I didn't say guaranteed.
Speaking of skirmishes,
Yeah.
we were actually worried that we weren't going to get many. But the afternoon was filled with them.
It was
apparently.
indeed.
It was.
So
wait, did anything happen at standing just before we move on?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, we don't go to standing.
We had some
We're too cool for it.
burritos. Shout out to Chris Melvin's Black Scar burritos. They were fantastic. They kept me
yes.
fed.
Look, Matty, you're not supposed to undo the segue, right?
You were moving too fast. Come on, you're
Get on
you're
a faster
better than
segue.
this. You couldn't
Yeah.
think
Because
of any speed.
before we got to any of the skirmishes, I had the problem of no weapons. Like, I have weapons, but the missing swords, which was literally the first thing I did after monstering. So I managed to catch up with Silk, who'd informed me that the magpies they'd been brought to the magpies for investigation.
Was that
Apparently,
the night before?
Yes, that was the night before.
Oh, yeah.
They hadn't been handed in yet. So I managed to find him. He said they hadn't been handed in yet, but you got to go and find something house in Highguard. It's up by the gate. So off I go. Off we go for a walk. I think we were heading to God anyway, so we're gonna stop there on the way. We start walking along, and we get there, and I find ex-person of this house who was waiting outside, and I think he is one of the magpies. He was the one investigating it. I came to him and started talking about, I've heard you found a couple of swords with fitting this description. And he went, oh yeah, that's the second thing I've heard about. No. There's only one set. They're mine. You've got them, and they're mine. I dropped them here yesterday by accident.
Don't get too excited. You have
Please
my
don't get
swords.
too excited. You have my swords. There isn't another set. And he was like, oh, that's very peculiar. So, started kind of taking them down. He was just like, yeah, so they'd been dropped dubiously, is the words.
I remember that. That was ridiculous.
Dropped dubiously at the camp entrance of I think it. What are they called? It's
Oh
been
my god!
long
You
since
dropped
E1.
your swords and they thought it was a threat.
Yeah, yeah. They thought it was something interesting because for those who don't know, I've got a pair of swords known as Kellen blades that allow you to do cool venom when you hit both of them at the same time using a hero point. They're a very special item that was given to one of our Navari artisans. Find out and play. Which is what these people were doing. Apparently, I'd caused chaos, but we didn't get the full story until the very end. So, started talking to them. They said, go and talk to these other people. Forgotten their names. If I remember them, I'll say. But they're down by the gate. Lovely prosperity bar. Very good. So they were the ones that found them. Started to chat to them. They were like, yes, we do still have them. But did we hand them both into God? You know, and they were like, yeah. So I was like, cool. I'll go get them from God, and then we can come and discuss this. So we go to God. We get my weapons. I can describe them pretty quickly. One of them is basically a stick. It's a whittled stick, or almost bone-like, but it is a stick. And the other one is like as long as you can get for a single hand, with a nice ornate little handguard on. And as with Farron has always had, non-matching swords, because I haven't bought them.
Well, did you almost buy the matching bone sword?
No. I was never buying matching. Never.
That's cringe, Matty. Come on.
No, so the reason why I have that is
there were two for sale. I just couldn't.
That one's which Clay bought. But the thin one I wanted as my defensive one, because I do fight Ambi. I have it as a defensive one, and having that one slightly shorter is actually very useful because of the way that you can fight with them. You don't have to always be lugging around these really long ones on both hands. That one also travels a lot faster and it's slightly stronger, so it's much better at a parrying blade than the other one. But you can still use it. It's still great. Anyway, found them, headed back, and then what I did is I gave him the bone-ish one, the wooden one, and said, tie the ribbon on that. Now we can have the discussion. And he went through this story. Basically, last night, the swords were dropped dubiously. We took them to the Artisans Guild.
Like, do you just
color them and call them the dubious swords?
I know what I'm going to call them.
The Dubois.
We'll get to that.
Oh yeah, we know.
So I was gonna. They took them to the Artisans Guild, and they were like, "Well, we don't know what these do. We don't know how to make them." Took them to the Magpies. We're like, "Have you heard of these?" And they were like, "No." And basically, it was like 25 people all across Highguard and elsewhere involved in this plot of my missing swords. And the best thing is I basically spoke to them, told them who could make them, exactly what they do, and typed up all of their answers. But my god, yeah, apparently the guy was at a party the night before, like an in-character party, and umming and ahhing because he needed to go and investigate these swords, so I had to leave the party early. Yeah, I caused chaos. But made loads of friends.
My friend.
So they were like,
That's how happens.
They got incited, they got detect magic, obviously, to find out what they did. So all they were asking were for a little bit of compensation on that part, to basically for them to give me my weapon back. And like it's a craftable item. I think it cost me 2.5 throne originally, and it's only got a couple seasons left. But they said a couple crown, and I went, yeah, that's fair. That was about the what I had in my head, because I had dropped them dubiously.
They charged you 2 crowns for stealing your stuff.
They didn't steal it. I dropped them.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
If I put my keys down...
we're not going into fines again and arguments within Shattersong, okay? It was my problem. I get to pay for it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Right.
And a story. I paid for the story more than anything.
Well, sorry, Sol. Sorry, we'll never talk about it again.
I don't need this.
Complaining about fine issues.
Yeah, you should now.
Yeah.
You've paid me back. But yeah, so I got the weapons back. Met a load of Highguard friends. Made some Highguard friends.
We did. Yeah.
We actually spoke to the actual person who'd found them, which was a couple down who'd given them into God, and they were like, "That's really cool. I'm just really interested. How do you fight with these things?" And so gave them a couple of tips. told them what I do, and they were like, "Oh," because they were feeling them and going, "These are really nice." And I think the props themselves, like the fizz reps, they're very nice weapons. They're might light. I think that actually tied into the fact that they thought it was something a bit more special because I'm fizz repping them properly.
Damn.
But yeah, one of the guys liked my weapon so much he had to go and get himself one with a similar weighting, which I found really funny. So he'd bought himself a different fizz rep that was similar.
That's banging. You should take that to Mike Light and say, "Weapon's so good, you'll assume it's PD plus."
I will let him know if he's at E2 or whatever, because that was very funny. And yeah, they were like, "Well, we've got a couple of skirmishes coming up. How about you come along with us? You can be in our group, and we'll see how you use them." And I went, "Hell yeah!"
Hell to the yeah.
We were already planning to do a couple later, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll stick around. I'll come join you if you need me." So yeah,
Made some new friends. We met their
New friends.
is it Exarch, who's the leader of a High Guard chapter? I think it is.
probably.
Yeah, sounds about right. But or no, or is that Urizen? I don't know. Either way.
Look, no idea.
Sounds kind of right. I don't know. It's very hard. It's
Yeah.
hard keeping track of other nations' culture.
I know. It's almost like there's a rich, detailed world that we have to live in for only 12 days a year. But anyway, we met a chattering skull. I'm not sure if that was the same time frame, but they had their previous dead leader. They had a skull that it was like a mechanical one where the jaw would just gnash at you at random sometimes. So they held the skull, and it would they'd say, "Oh, don't look too closely," and if you did, it would fucking go for you, and it was absolutely brilliant. And it had like the labyrinth on it in black paint and some runes. It was a very cool prop.
Wow.
Very cool. I think at this point, Matty, you were in probably military council.
Or was
Yeah, I
this
was trying to
post-standing?
think. I don't think I really said anything at standing. We didn't really need to. There was a Thorns Council after standing, but again, I didn't really need to go to that. So I think I probably just head off to military council. Yeah. It's probably stuff doing. It's really hard to remember. Even a day after, it's hard to remember what I spent the day doing.
Well, do you want to talk about
it's not even a distance thing.
the conclusion of military council and the funky things that had happened?
So you could be referring to so many things. Well, first of all, military council after on a Saturday after we're back from the battle is like a roundup of how the battle went. So that is a whole thing. They discuss how that went, talk to the field marshal, etc., etc. Riz came in to also. He was officially now no longer. Oh no! Of course, that's what it was. It was elections. It was Hakinia elections.
Oh, we missed that. I was at the first day.
I wasn't there.
I was like, I knew
recording.
there was something. Hakinia election for the Senator of Hakinia. Rizat Dancewalker officially stood down. Since I was the only one there, I guess I'll breeze through it relatively quickly. You'll probably hear much more about it
All right, you've
if
got
I
6
might
minutes.
shout
Go.
them out. On the LARP noobs are probably going to talk about it quite a lot because it was our very own Gellert Ashbourne who became the new senator.
Whoa!
Wow.
That's
You
it.
said
6 minutes you
said
gave
a
me.
quick story, but yeah, I mean, you
Done.
spat five
That's
and a half
it.
minutes. Crikey.
That was it.
Matty,
They
we're
had
trying to
a-
make
they
a
had a good
podcast here. We
chat.
need content, not bullet points.
Okay, look, I was thinking about military council and not listening that much.
Yeah,
They both
that's
spoke
fine.
well. They both had very similar ideas, which didn't help us decide. Gellert won by not an overwhelming majority. It was like 3/5 to 2/5, I would say.
Yeah,
like something like that. 40%, 60%, something like that. It was a margin. It wasn't like an overwhelming margin. It wasn't like one person type. It was pretty good for election, and they were very, very kind to each other. Demelza did Demelza. Shout out to Hazel, who we have come to know and like very, very much. Who was
we like both.
last round? We like both. Yeah, but we've definitely spoken about Gellert / Dave before. Gellert / Dave, you stink. We love you. You're brilliant. Nice braids. Shame I didn't get to do them this time, but that's fine. I'm not jealous.
We have found the simp on the podcast.
I started the braids. It's been good. I'm glad he likes them. I do. That's it. No, that was it. It was obviously disappointing for Demelza. I wanted her to win personally. I just that was what Larkin wanted. OC, I would be very happy with both of them. And I think either of them would have done a great job. And I think Dave Gellert will do a great job now, and
Chris,
hopefully they'll work together.
is that enough content for you?
Was that 6 minutes?
Not quite, but like it's good enough. I'm less angry now. I'm less upset.
Cool. I voted. Gellert won. I left at the end.
So that
No,
also
it's
meant
one of those
that
where they have the same opinions because they were the best opinions. So nothing was very controversial. So it was kind of just who did you think would do the job slightly better? So it was very close. That's it. Then I went.
it also meant that Rizart was no longer a senator.
Yeah,
and so could go into the military council tent.
The mischief
for the
begins.
first time, I believe. I don't think he's been in before. Certainly not during a council meeting. So this was not the best council meeting for him to be in. But I put on the docket that he needed to introduce himself because he wanted to say hi. Unfortunately, that became the last of the docket, so he did have to hang around for quite a while. But it meant that he was around for after the field marshal, briefing, not briefing, review, all of that. Debrief, that's the word I wanted. We go through a bunch of agenda items about things people put agenda items on. So there was lots of things about there's this mandate that's being talked about, there are these items, there are these things. It was just a lot of normal meeting stuff, basically, which I really quite enjoy because it's quite varied. It's not just about tactics, it's not just about battles, it's not a competition, it's discussing stuff that's happening. You get to talk to a lot of other people across the field who come in to say their piece, all that kind of stuff. And we also had the proxy quartermaster come in, talking about stipends, money. It gets very complicated and dull if you're not interested in it like I am. But David got a great moment certainly I thought it was great, but then I am a nerd. So I thought it was great that he, as an very recent ex-senator, got to say a few pieces, in rebuttal to certain things, but also clarify a few things about the Senate view on matters. Because the Senate and the Military Council aren't great friends.
It's almost like
out of their
senators
titles,
aren't allowed in the MC tent.
Yes, I know. And military council is always often at the same time as Senate, so most of them don't go in there. Who would want to anyway?
Yeah, cringe.
But anyway, it's out of their titles, most of those characters are friends. But when it comes to the roles they do, God, there's just no way to get along. And there are a lot of things within the game that don't help that, basically. But it was very interesting to have multiple viewpoints on it. I had a great time. I had a big, nice sit down, and I was given the coolest fizz wrap. Right. I don't know that anyone else thinks this is the coolest fizz wrap, but I think it's the coolest fizz wrap. It was a horn, but it was carved out and shaped. It was the most tactile thing ever. It was beautiful. Unfortunately, when I was handed it, I was told, "Hi, here's the MacGuffin you need." Unfortunately, the ribbons come off. We can confirm it hasn't been stolen because it has never left the player's person since yesterday when it was picked up off skirmish. As in retrieved. That was the point of that skirmish. Definitely not stolen. Handed directly to... it was Rivardi, in fact, who handed it to me and said this, and I utterly believed them. I was like, shit. We really, really, really need this MacGuffin for tomorrow, unfortunately. So that's a bit awful. So I was playing around with that, thinking about how I was going to have to go to God and grovel and see if they could possibly do anything about the ribbon. I've actually seen pictures of that MacGuffin coming back through the Sentinel Gate since the event, and you can see that the ribbon is barely clinging on to the fizz wrap. So, PD, tie your ribbons tighter, please. Double knot them. Something like that. They don't need to be that easy to take off.
Welcome
They're still
to the
pretty easy to take
Not
off.
Tying podcast, listeners. This is today's episode is how to tie the knot, and no, not with your significant other. It's to a MacGuffin.
On a fizz wrap.
Can I ask just a question? The only question that I, as a non-MC, as self-stated nerd, care about is how does Rizart Dancewalker, a senator, walk into the MC tent a civilian and come out as a field marshal. What
Okay,
the
but
fuck
he
happened there?
walked in a field marshal.
He walked in a field marshal. He was already a field
Because
marshal.
he was already a field marshal.
How?
We chatted
Okay,
about this last time.
qualification.
I was
Right,
listening.
so bruh. We only recorded this recently. It wasn't that long ago. Any citizen of the Empire can stand for and become field marshal for a major conjunction.
Yep.
Including Lindir.
Anybody. Including Lindir.
That's the thing.
Including
Like, I understand the
absolutely anyone.
mechanic,
You have
but
to be
why
there at the
Rizza?
time. Why Rizza? Okay. Because it was
We
an Avar
talked about this last
conjunction.
time.
We
Again,
did.
was
I'm
not
going to run
listening.
through the TLDR.
You know what? Oh,
right,
you know what? No,
Chris.
I'm going to apologise to people listening and to you too. Clearly, I have some kind of memory loss again. The tulpa has got me twice.
It has,
Now,
yeah.
if you want to know the answer to that question, go watch the other. Sorry, go.
There we
listen
go.
to
That
the
makes
other
me a lot
episode.
happier.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah.
Right.
The whole
Come
time
on.
this is going on.
No, the real answer, the true answer that I could,
No,
maliciously
too late. We've got
concealed
gone
from
over
you
your
last
6-minute
time.
allowance, Matty. That's it.
Yep,
That's
we're
all I
off.
had.
That was a
Back to the
different
gate.
6 minutes.
Back to
Back
the
to
gate.
the gate.
I just want to say I was too good.
So we know
film.
that. It was in the last one.
Yeah.
God, this is a chaotic episode.
Can you
Yeah.
compliment me one more time, though?
Matty, you have a really nice singing voice.
You did very well.
It's
in
a
the
shame
Magic
Larkin
Council.
will never sing again. So, that's like the whole. This is really
Blackscar?
interesting. No, because like I've been in the medical tent the whole time. I think literally it's probably about like
Same.
1 p.m.
Really?
Yeah, man, my eye got fucked up when we were monstering. I got hit so
Oh,
hard.
Really?
Yeah, like this Dawnish night. Not naming any names, Dawn, but I go. I'm basically orc number 69 with a crummy ass mace. I do an obvious swing of like, "Grr, come on, come get me." So he fucking gets me by full force, flat blading me, literally in the eye socket. There's a gash, not like on my eye socket,
Oh my
but on the actual
God.
eyelid. It's like my eyelid
my
goes,
God.
"Get down, Mr. President." Get slashed. It doesn't go all the way through, luckily, but it fucking blacks, and
What?
there was like this huge black eye I was building, and like I was fully bloodshot and everything. And it took
Oh
like
my god.
I had to sit
Did-
down for 10 minutes. I was like, that fucking. It wasn't like blackout, but it. Like you get a really strong head blow
Yeah.
and snaps your
Did
head
you
around.
alert any of the refs about who that was?
No, I just dropped. I went blind and dropped,
Yeah.
and then crawled to a tree
Okay.
and sat there
Would
for
you be
5
able to
minutes.
describe them / notice who that was?
Not on the podcast,
on the
but also
podcast.
like I can
No,
use
no.
I can use
Another
colours
time.
and nations, and it doesn't narrow it down, unfortunately.
Well,
A
we
Dawnish
might
knight
talk
wearing
about that
plate
afterwards,
armor
'cause
doesn't
that
really
is
help. But yeah,
something to register.
yeah. So at Gwilyn, Greg took me to the medical tent and got my eye washed out afterwards, and then
God, I didn't realise that happened at all.
yeah, it's because I was just off. So what I think I hung out with Sol for a little bit on the sword thing, but
Yep.
got myself cleaned up properly because the other
Were you in the
problem.
MC tent quite a lot, Sol?
I was in and out.
In and out.
I did. I was so during your time there in the military council, we'd come over in full plate or in full gear because we
Mhm.
were skirmishing. But I kept running errands for you.
Yeah.
All right. I don't need to talk about them. They're just errands.
No, they just happened.
Um,
Nondescript
Yeah,
errands.
it was a good meeting. I really like the Herald meetings, the military council meetings. I don't know what any of the other meetings and any of the other things are like, but the Herald does a really good job running them.
I've been to them, and military council is where I keep ending up. So
Yeah, I would say as chaotic as everyone says it is in military council, as long and boring as it is, it's well run in the sense that the Herald keeps everyone on task. There is the very overwhelming thing of one voice, so you don't get a lot of crosstalk. It can be hard to hear
Yeah.
someone sometimes because there's quite a lot of people in the tent, and we still don't have a side to the tent, so there's a lot of outside noise. But it's actually really fine. Thinking about Senate, where you have to stand up and you can't leave and anything like that, and you have to vote on everything. God, military council's a doddle when it comes to that. So much more
Unlike-
freeing.
this podcast. So
I don't
Let
like
us-
the
we don't
shade.
have
Let
a
us-
Herald.
smash through these 4 skirmishes in the next 5 minutes because we can do this, Chris.
All right, let's go for it.
Step 1: Black Scar turn up for a skirmish
Mhm. Which one
with
was it?
the High Exorcist that we've been paid for.
Oh, yes.
Mix around with numbers. Goes from 70 to 20.
30. 70 to 30.
30.
But yeah, absolutely.
They then
This is a PD.
walk
problem.
through the gate. and it goes back up to 60 without telling anybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're all waiting out there,
Oh.
having been paid
Well,
to wait
I
around.
believe the actual details, it didn't go back up to 60. It was supposed to have gone down to 60 from 70, but it never did. It got miscommunicated.
I've heard mixed on that. So to keep it short, that is kind of what happened. We then were paid to obviously go on the skirmish. They still paid us and just said, could you wait around because there might be tormented souls. Chris, do you know what tormented souls are?
No, Sol, why don't you tell us?
Well, I hoped you could tell us.
Oh, I can. Okay, no, I can actually. So, they're very uncommon in monster skirmishes, but there are wraiths in the Empire, or doomed spirits, banshees, and then those kind of creatures, and they're immune to everything apart from magic, and B, when they gut you, and they will gut you because they have impale automatically, you get cursed immediately, and you become.
Wow.
I mean,
No
wait,
wonder
so
no
have
one
you
wants
said
to go
tortured
and
souls
fight
here?
back in.
I think this was tortured or
Tortured souls,
tormented.
cool. Tormented souls. So slightly different angle with tormented souls is that these are the leftovers of the Druge in Zenith. So what the Druge do is they get someone to the point, well, the torture point, where they can no longer enter the labyrinth, hang around on the mortal plane as a ghost basically, and they're hyper aggressive, hyper dangerous, and they take a lot to kill. And just like with the other banshees and shit, they'll curse you to fuck on the way out. And the only way they can be killed is exercised, I think.
Lots of things about people not like testing colours and things.
Yeah, because you
don't
only
know.
see in black and white if you're cursed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
people
I
keep
remember
asking
that
what
from
colour is my
last
cod
event
piece.
or the event before.
So yeah,
One time we
basically
went for a trip.
because Black Skull were there and paid to go on the skirmish, they were like, some lovely brass coat man was freeborn, sorry. Was like, do you want to stick around and just help just in case any tortured soul or tormented souls come back through and we need to rustle them up? And we were like, yeah. And at that point, he goes, oh, that's a nice pair of swords you got there. Oh, I've got something interesting that you might find as an Avari person who is ambidextrous.
Okay.
Last night, there was a pair of weapons found. I went, I know, they're these ones. This wasn't the only time that happened this afternoon.
Oh my
so
God.
I will say that. So we didn't get to go on that one.
This story will follow you across the next few events.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But that one didn't go very well. Next, Lindir's up.
Yeah, so
on
I'm
a
not...
skirmish that he bribed for.
Yeah, this is gave Ravadi some a chaos fruit and got into the skirmish. So while Black Scar on Ghosty Boy duty, I am getting myself strung up. Sorry, I'm stringing my bow.
Strung up? Wrong character, mate.
Yeah.
Wrong character.
Oh, rip. But get on the skirmish as it's a point of pride because I was in the front sit, and it goes to show like how wild skirmish organization is because this was Ravadi's skirmish. Ravadi had picked some Navarre. I was the 4th person in the queue. By the time we go through the gate, I'm the 36th because you just get fucking blocks of Dawn just pushing in front. Like they're meant to be there like a contingent of 20, but they just don't. They just refuse to go to the back of the queue. They just go straight to the front. So yeah, we get on the skirmish. The Dawn contingent gets fucked up. Navarre gets circled by the Druge, as always. Ravadi goes down, but the Iron Hill step in to save them, which is cool, because I love the Iron Hills. They're great. I get into what feels like a Call of Duty firefight with the Druge archers, because I think I'm the only archer on the skirmish, or maybe one of like 2 or 3. No, I am the only one. So yeah, I'm literally hiding behind this bracken getting shot at, and as people fall dead around me, or sorry, fall to the floor bleeding out, I pull the arrow out of their belly, leave them to the physic, and shoot back. Absolutely wild skirmish. I'm not sure if it was a success or not, but it was a bit chaotic.
Mega failure is what I heard, but
Gotcha. Yeah,
could be anything.
Like, yeah, I mean, Ravadi said we're going to stick together and we're going to basically like tactical blob them, which is commanding 101 and it's a good strategy. So like no qualms there. We're going to go in, apply all of our force in one place, and crack the nut. just like a Terry's chocolate orange. Don't tap it, whack it. Navarre then, obviously on some kind of reflex arc, deploy and then disappear off into the woods, leaving Dawn alone. So Dawn then get picked apart. Navarre can't fight to defend themselves. Everyone gets kettled, and then we start to die as we literally get caught in a crossfire. We eventually fight our way out. It's a good scrap. Don't get me wrong. I see Lindir doesn't understand objectives, but OC, it was a good fucking fight. That was a good skirmish. It was a lot of fun. 5 stars. We get out, and I'm unfortunately low on ammo, which takes us to the next skirmish, Sol.
I'm waiting at the front of the gate with the High Guide buddies that we met earlier, because I've now been invited on this skirmish, and they're like fully clanked up, heavy. I'm there in my chain. They're like, he's gonna be all right. You stick with us. Stick behind the shields. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. It's all good. And Lindir had been asked on this as well, because he was by the campfire at the time. And he rocks up, and you're wearing your leather. You've got a bow, no sword, and 1 arrow. And these guys are looking at him like, are you sure you're ready for this? And then I basically turn into this pitch of, now normally I would suggest no, but you haven't seen this person fight. They are perfectly prepared for this battle.
You have not met.
You have not met Lindir / Ban Shattersong, rest in peace.
You've not met Chris Anson.
You haven't met Chris Anson on the battlefield. And they were like, okay, sure. They, skeptical for sure. I think probably on this next skirmish, Chris probably put one of the highest kill counts down of people on that skirmish.
You can see it on the pictures. You're doing a great job.
You can. As you collectively get the arrows that you'd fired and lost fired back at you.
In the last skirmish.
Yeah, but I'd left in the Druge last time. Miraculously came back to me. It was incredible. It was like some of the shots fired in Sarengrave had gone so far that they appeared on the western part of the Empire just in time for me to pick them up again. It's like those Skyrim trick shots, when they
fire a lot of arrows.
Yeah, they get to the top of the mountain and fire it, and it lands in Rift into something. Yeah, it's banging.
This skirmish was fun. It wasn't successful. There was fun, not successful. Another one. There was High Guard Urizen, maybe some Dawn. I don't know. There was a lot going on, and we were just a couple of Navari with a High Guard contingent, with the leader of the High Guard who just started in light armor, just would yell with me, and then sprint at a Druge, and it was just what is going on? Meanwhile, Urizen are complaining once again that no one's pushing up with them. It was basically what I'm trying to say is it was nice to see that other nations have the same problems as we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we're all in this together.
Chaos. We were alright though. I saved one of the High Guard people, or helped save one of the High Guard people that we went in with who'd gone down. He was actually ended up being a tormented soul. That was what he got put down by.
Oh, damn.
But they dealt with that. It was all good.
Yeah, the spooky boys.
Yeah, and there's some funky pics of Lindir getting some super cool shots. Good skirmish.
Yeah, it's pretty
enjoyed.
Good.
They were like, yeah, nicely fought. And invited us on a later one, but I said I've got too many because I had 2 more that evening anyway. So.
We did. We had the infamous 8:30 one, but maybe we'll leave that until.
We'll leave that till 8:30. Yeah. But yeah, it was basically a quick run of skirmishes. Finally, I could go and take my armor off for a bit.
But I'm not done yet.
No, you're not.
We got the 5 p.m. skirmish organised by Stefan from the Navarchers. And shout out to the Navarchers, because, let's be real here, Black Scar is the premier unit in Navarre, and I'm totally biased in saying that, but I feel like it's kind of based on fact. Now
we got hired a number of times this event.
Yeah, I think we've got 15, 16 MC commendations. It's consistent. Now, the Navarchers, not only are they, archers are just good in combat, good kills, it's bringing a gun to a knife fight almost. Their coherency as a unit is very solid. They have a buddy-buddy system that they follow and drill. And then finally, Stefan, I've forgotten their
Is
damn
that
it.
his IC name?
That's OC, and I've forgotten the IC name, and I hate myself for
Yeah.
it. But basically, when he organises skirmishes, they go well. Like you turn up, and if there's 10 slots, he's guaranteed we'll get those 10 slots, and he brings 10 people, and it all just works smoothly, and we don't get gate shocked because we're always at the vanguard as scouts and archers, right, as skirmishers, and they're just an absolute pleasure to fight with. So like 9 out of 10 wouldn't have Archer again. Now, unfortunately, speaking of gate chaos, the skirmish is cut. The amount of slots on the skirmish that we have is cut down from 15 to 5 before we go on. So at this point, I tip my hat that doesn't exist and I walk off back to camp. But apparently, it wasn't that fun. It was I think they were providing security on some kind of deal or investigation. It wasn't your standard clobber the orcs kind of skirmish. It seemed to be a very politically driven one. But apparently it wasn't the best. But still got a
I
shout
don't know
out.
what was up that evening, but it seemed to be. Well, I do. I've heard OC what was happening, but for the sake of it, there was a lot of skirmishes that evening that kept changing their numbers.
Was the War
Like-
Scout high on bite or something?
Probably.
Yeah. Don't
I will
know.
hear nothing against the War Scout. They are delightful and wonderful.
Yeah, they are.
And also, they get
it
fed
wasn't-
all the information through an earpiece, so it's probably not their fault.
All OC stuff. I believe it was something to do with reading off the wrong database. That's what I've heard on the grapevine. Doesn't really matter.
I
Things-
could make a lot of sense, yeah.
Cool. That
It's
sounds
just
like
one
that
of
was
those
fine.
OC things that you can't fix, so you just have to make them have happened IC and deal with it.
All right.
Sorry, I had to mute. I've got a cat who keeps meowing really loudly, so I can have to mute myself. But yeah, there's been a few of those. There's things that they happen kind of because of an OC issue. And yeah, it kind of sucks, but you can't wreck on them. So you just have to accept that they have happened IC and justify them IC and work on them IC, and someone's got to take responsibility, you know?
I'm going to choose to
kinda
ignore
sucks,
that
but-
rule.
You know.
I'm going to have my own skirmish in the car park with
Well,
my
that's fair.
my bow and some Warhammer models.
How many people do you need for that?
It's a 70-person skirmish. It lasts.
Is it still a 70-person skirmish?
It
3
will.
seconds later?
Gone down
It
to
will be.
3.
It will be. It's where you all line up, and it's how many ranks of you can I go through with my car before the wheel gets jammed.
Where are we? 'Cause to be fair,
we're in
after that,
Brikelliand.
I don't think
I
I
don't
got
know.
up to much until the evening.
Yeah,
I just wandered around quite a lot. I went to sort out the ribbon. God were really good about it in the end, which was really awesome, especially because I could specify that it was MacGuffin from this skirmish so they could find it. Because initially it looked like, well, it's a ribbon, it's gone, there's no way to do anything about that, which would have been fair enough. Scroll down, my dude, thank you. I'm reading from your
Oh,
screen.
sorry, yeah, from the super secret episode plot
The
list.
super secret thing to remind me of what happened. Yeah, went for a walk with Rizat and Delora, one of my very good friends now in military council. Isabel's awesome. We went and found smoothies. We had a smoothie quest. I went around with Velasco, one of the other freeborn generals, looking for people who could do a ritual. And yeah, that basically.
Sounds like we're
then
getting
we did the War Scout meeting. Did you come to that, Sol?
on. Was that?
The field marshal one with
Yeah,
Dave.
I was there.
Yeah. Okay. TLDR. There was a War Scout meeting about
Basically,
Sunday
yeah.
battle.
I have a lot of
We
things I
found
could
out some
say
stuff,
about
had
it.
a lot of chats, and that's that.
I'm not going to say it on the podcast though.
Yeah.
So, let's move
And
along.
mostly IC chats. The rest of it was it happened. That was good.
There.
Then I had tactic strategy meeting, which is the one that's officially set aside for us to actually talk about where the armies go, which got
I went to get
very
food.
interesting.
That's what happened then.
Food?
You went
We
to
went
get
to get
food.
food because
Yes,
it was the
you had your
second night.
catering.
Second night of catering. Excelente. This tonight it was casserole.
Oh,
Very good.
I heard good things about the catering.
The catering was exceptional. Shame he's not going to be there for E2, but E3, you better both get on that properly.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was so
Well, I'll
good.
actually be able to, enjoy it because obviously meetings get in the way of eating a little bit.
But surely you're still going to your
Sorry.
meetings, like
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Wow,
if
Saul,
anyone's
rude.
Well,
Wow,
if
Saul,
anyone's
rude.
I would be shocked if anyone's listening to the episode 2 after not having listened to episode 1 where we
Wait.
talk about it.
Wait, you died?
Wait, what?
Bessie the Bard is
Spoilers.
dead.
Chris, was there anything that happened before we met you back at the camp?
Yes.
Well, excellent, because I think that's where we've got to.
All right then.
Yeah.
So, as you might know, Lindir's a good boy, but he has some bad
No.
habits now. Shut your mouth. Shut your sword-dropping mouth. Now, Lindir is a good boy, but he's been ground down by the things he's seen in the Sarin Grave, and also hanging out with you lot. And then the final straw is going to Nightmare Land,
Not responsible.
otherwise known as Brokeliand, and picking up some magic jelly beans. Now, go back and listen to the first episode about the things that happened. But TLDR, I have a rep as a drug dealer now. And what happened is that rep continued to grow and get further and further out of hand on the afternoon of Saturday. So after I finished skirmishing, and even between the skirmishes, I had people coming up to me going, "Are you Lindir Thornheart?" And there is, I can't describe the fear, dear citizens, the raw, unrelenting fear when someone says your name, but you don't know who they are, because it's almost always bad news. And luckily
Well, I
this
will
time,
say you have more trauma with that than most.
are you banned Shattersong?
Yeah.
No, I'm
You're a militia in disguise.
Banal Whisperroot. who wants to know? Oh, we've got
Remember,
this
friends,
curse.
the answer is always why.
Mm-hmm.
But for Lindir, it's an OC feeling I need to shrug. But basically, Lindir started selling more fruit. Now, I need 5 for my forest, but at this point we had like 24, 26, and we were just creaming through these. People were buying them. Our rumours we started were pumping up the price, and we caught the attention of some other, maybe not nefarious characters, but certainly some traders in the narcotics area. So now, because we've picked up the tulpa potions as well, Jockle and I are approached by a broker who wants to buy them, and buys them for a very pretty penny, something to the tune of 10 thrones or so for a couple of them. Also buy some chaos fruit
Wait,
and some information.
what?
Yeah,
What did you have?
that's a great question, Matty, because it's not on the wiki, and that's all I'll say.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's probably why it costs so much.
Well, I'm a very good salesperson, I like to think. And I twisted well, not even twisted, I just told a fine tale of how we acquired them, how many chaos fruit were lost in this noble endeavour, and the estimated price of each one. And the thing is,
Maybe you have
Jockle
to
and
hope
I,
that they're not worth like 50 thrones and you got shortchanged.
I have no idea, but one of them does have Ilium in. But that one is ours. Anyway, so yeah, by the end of the afternoon, so the highlight of our Friday evening trading is a 5 throne coin, which we've all like nibbled because we've never seen that much money. Broker McBadass here says, "Can you break a 20 throne piece?" And at this point, I can respond with yes. Yeah, yes, I can. So we do. And now Lindir in his possession has a chunk of thrones, a 5 throne, and a 20 throne coin, and a bag full of fruit.
Oh wow.
So Saturday afternoon and early evening, he's feeling a bit like a baller. It sets up the night beautifully, but that's what I was doing on Saturday afternoon, selling potions and buying fruit.
So then catering, and then
Mhm.
it was an impromptu blooding.
Mm.
The impromptu blooding of Blackscar. By impromptu, I mean it's been mentioned that we were going to do it this event, but we didn't do it on the Friday, so I kind of thought, oh, we're just not doing it. And then at about 8 o'clock, 8:30, no, must be later than that.
Is it
Is it
after the
post?
skirmish, after the quickie?
Skirmish, which was we don't need we can talk about it in about as long as the skirmish took.
Probably longer.
The 8:30 skirmish, Tall George, sure you've heard of it. The most
Famous now.
successful and quick skirmish ever. 70 people went out, including Black's front, tasked with dealing with the Jotun. We didn't really meet any Jotun. The scouts just did a very good job at scouting, found Tall George, and we left.
Done.
That was it.
Yeah.
Very good success.
very good success. So quick, I'd forgotten about it. So then it was the blooding and food and whatnot. So it must have been about 9 o'clock, I'd say. The sun had gone down.
Yeah, it was dark.
Had our food. We'd started some drinks, and someone yells, "Blooding, blooding, blooding!" And as a guide in Blackscar, I impromptu led it.
You did indeed.
Asking lots of questions of the victim. I mean, the wannabe Blackscars.
I don't know that we've ever talked about what a blooding is on this.
I don't think we should.
No.
Yeah, that's quite
It's
close.
a
really
black
need to
scar.
know.
Just yeah, specify. It's a black scar specific thing. It's not a wider Navarre thing. for anyone.
Ritual oath taking ceremony. But it tends to happen different every time.
Yep.
But with some similar things. But Lindir asked to join the Black Scar Thornball.
Well, I was kind of invited, and I said yes. Let's get our facts straight here. I wasn't simping.
I don't know. I just did.
You have been playing hard to get for a few
Yeah.
seasons now.
It's been deliberate, but you with your overall organisation and ass kicking this event, you hooked me. You got me good.
Yeah.
So
And also, John.
normally it would involve some questions. It did. It involved some questions from the guide, some questions from the crowd. But yours opened a little differently, didn't it? As chants around the fire for "eat the fruit, eat the fruit."
No.
Yeah, they forced me to eat one of the pineapples, the super rare, allegedly two-thrown pineapple one.
They just wanted you to eat some
Oh.
chaos fruit. You were the one who made it be the pineapple.
I selected it at random. I pulled it out of my pouch and I ate one of the most valuable things on my person because I was peer
I
pressured into it.
didn't partake in the chant. I will say that.
Well, that's good to know, Farron.
Yeah.
But the fruit was I looked at the lammy and then I threw it in the fire, and Finn lost his mind because he was like, "No, we need to read that." But unfortunately, I am actually a simp for the spirit of the game, so he just had to assume from my role playing and ask me questions as to what the actual fruit was.
Oh, but you read it, right?
Oh yeah, I read it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It
good.
basically made me super aggressive and super calm, but very unstable between those two states of being.
Especially as I was having to ask some very, very personal questions.
Yeah.
It's very poignant questions, and at the end, stab you.
Yeah.
So, kind of like, didn't do this.
All while
I just
was
remember
telling-
Jockel's eyes from across the fire. I was like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And I was just like,
It could be another Brass Coast egregore.
yeah.
He knows what these
Well.
fruit can do.
Either way, it was great. And when we got through, I think it was like 7 new players.
Yeah, it was
Not
me,
new players. They're all
Sparkles,
people who've
Torna,
been to the game.
2 cooks. That's at
Yeah,
least
well,
5.
a couple of newbies, but a couple of people who had literally just sunk straight into Black Scar. Like, I'd kind of forgotten that those newbies that Tiki had brought along, the chefs, weren't already players of the game. They were really good, so props to them.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can remember their character names. Ossian.
Yep.
Can't remember the other one. 'Cause obviously I came up with it's Ossian Solution.
Yeah.
Can't remember the other one.
Nice, yeah.
Sorry.
Ossian
like you
fell in
anyway.
battle, and so did that other guy that no one remembers.
They were great. Anyway, and then we rounded it off with a bit of a Black Scar sing song. We rolled some pigs. We
Anyway, at this point, we get to the bar crawl for Black Star.
Yes.
Is there?
Well, just to intercut, I
Yeah.
had already started my
You'd started the bar
for the
crawl.
evening. Yeah, because I'd left strategy meeting with Kindra of the Winter Mark, and Brenos, and we gone for a wander and ended up in the Drunken Goose, having some drinks and some chats, which was really lovely. And who should wander in as the night grew darker, but a rabble of rather already quite soused Black Scar, fresh off the blooding. Soused as in drunk.
Oh, were you in there?
I was in the Drunken
Oh, I
Goose.
didn't even see you. Didn't even see
Exactly. Exactly. we didn't stay for very long. We grabbed, I think, Demelza,
Yes.
and Riz. No, he arrived later. Did you come with us straight away? You did, right? Or
I
did you
think
catch
so.
up after?
No, you told me to wait for Riz, so
Oh,
I
yes, I
waited
did.
for Riz, who had gone to get a present for
Yes,
a
restaurant,
lesbian.
yeah. I remember.
And then we headed over to Gin Club. But
Yeah,
I would like
we
to
ended
hear
up there quite early.
what on earth was happening.
Well,
The other
yeah,
side of
I
Anvil.
mean, all I'll say is because basically, and I don't have that much more to add, to be honest, is that after we left, we ended up in Gin Club very early, stayed there until it closed, talked to a lot of people, had a lot of fun chats, and yeah, it was a
I
great
did too.
night.
It's the first time in Gin Club, which was hysterical because
Yes,
David
of course.
Wimpenny Gellert had asked me how, like, I need to find Rizza, I need to find my ticket. I was like, you don't need to, just rock up and tell them who you are and whatnot. I'm sure you'll get in. And he was like, do you know where it is? And I was like, oh, I've been there, never got in. Anyway, I managed to get in, and then as he came to the table, I was sitting there, and he was just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it's a
great.
good time. It was full of good fun conversations, and fun
It was.
people.
Had lots
It was
of
just
good
great.
chats.
Yeah.
And
that was it. I mean, my night
Yeah.
ended once that ended. Walking back from Gin Club by myself to eat several burritos in a row to make sure that I had something to wash down the drink, and then head to bed. But in the meantime,
what was going on, Chris?
So the nice thing about Gin Club is you get the creme de la creme of Empire society, Imperial society. You could say you get senators, generals, the commissioned ranks of Black Scar in this case. And what is left outside of Gin
the
Club
occasional.
are the NCOs and the dog soldiers of Black Scar. And you left Anvil defenseless. As we go around with, okay, we had one leadership figure, and that was Neve. Neve the Changeling, the wild beast of Brokeliand.
Grandma.
Yeah, the Brandmar, the bitch of Brokeliand, and I mean that in a nice way. I think it's
Slag.
I've heard
Slag?
the slag of Brokeliand. Sorry, that's
For
it.
reasons of typoing.
Yeah, the hanger of husbands, I guess. A lot of dead husbands. Fundamentally a fantastic leadership figure, but not one to keep things controlled. You also have another 15 dog soldiers with her, myself included, who are a little bit sloshed from dinner, and the pub crawl begins. And I don't know if anyone listening to this, and including you two as well, has ever seen a pub crawl actually last at Anvil, because I was very skeptical about this. Because
there's been a couple that have actually lasted, I'd say. A couple.
you just
Not
Old of you to assume I've ever been on a pub crawl at Anvil.
That's the thing. Like, I'm in the Larkin camp
I've
here,
heard
the
of some
nerd
things.
camp, because A, no offense, but B, the like everything you
It's
do
alright, I'm self-confessed.
past 5 p.m. in Anvil, typically, if you are a drinker, you have a drink with you. So like a pub crawl is kind of fucking useless because whatever you're doing, you'll be having drinks anyway. So it's like saying let's go for a walk, for the sake of walking. Like it's there's no sights. Okay, yeah, it's a bad example. I'm going to shut up. The point is, this was actually just a pub crawl. And what happens with them is people go out in a large group and they fragment immediately, like throwing a lit torch into a sewer full of rats, okay? They just scatter. Now, not only did this pub crawl stay together, it stayed together till the end. And the best part is it was actually fun.
That's kind of amazing on an OC level. Like,
Yeah.
how many actual pub crawls have you been to, like, in the real world that have lasted?
Yeah, like clubbing. Like, oh, we've lost blank, blankety blank, or oh, blank is gone. And we're like, well, we're going to spend, an hour looking for them, and they're realistically puking in the smoking area. So, for that not to happen, and for us all to stick together, was incredible.
Amazing.
So we went to the Dunk and Goose, and we had we'd already pre-drunk and had some beers in hands. So when we got there, we just took a seat, didn't even know you guys were there, and then champion number 1 of the evening shows up, which is a geezer selling Goose Whisper. Now, as a prospecting drug dealer, apparently, I sit there and haggle
But
with
Lindir,
this citizen. So I now have some Goose Whisper on me. The second champion then appears, who is I don't know their IC or OC name, but they were running a portable casino in the market, and they turned up in the Drunken Goose. They had a little tray sort of attached to their front and 3 games. One was basically
that's cool.
Yahtzee, one was a counting game on 2d6, and then one was higher or lower. A lot of fun, very simple, very well executed, very much enjoyed it. And we got very drunk and very rowdy watching some of the troopers gamble and lose money. Except Damon, played by Aaron, who is the luckiest son of a bitch I have ever seen in my life. OC gambling, the man is weapon. He's a weapon. He's a nuke. He's a WMD because you play anything with him. Liar's dice, blackjack, poker, he'll just win. And it won't be through any skill. No offense, Aaron, but it will always be because he has the best hand. And it's like, I've seen him draw 4 aces and shit like this. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. Anyway, the Yahtzee game, you have to roll, you roll your dice. There's 5 of them. You have to, 6 of them. You have to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the idea is every time you roll, the dealer will take the 1, the 3, the 5, but the other duplicates you'll keep and roll again. Not Aaron. Aaron just Yahtzees it first roll. And we're all sat there in about 4 to 5 seconds of stunned silence, and then the screaming begins. And this is when you know the pub crawl is going to be good, because it's that drunk howl from the abyss of 15 angry, excited, drunk, and kind of murdery dog soldiers are screaming at what has just unfolded in front of them. The poor clientele I'm so sorry for, because I think I saw about 5 or 6 people leave. Like, my ears started to ring after this yell. It lasted for a good 15 seconds or so, but it just felt like an eternity. After that, we played a couple more rounds. I think we actually won all of them, to be fair. And then our kind casino friend trots off into the evening.
That's awesome.
We reload our drinks, say our goodbyes, and trot off onto the field. And this is where we decide to start wrecking pubs. So we walk across to the league, and we find this tent, held open, lights on indoors. We go in, and there was a delightful bar, a wooden one with loads of artwork and like sort of carving and crafting on it. It was fantastic. I poke my head in, and I go, "Is this bar open?" And the barkeep's like, "Oh, yes, it is. How many have you got?" And I said, 22. And behind the mask,
Kind of delighted or afraid.
delighted fear, as you can see the cogs, the money cogs, the money bags start cha-chinging behind this barkeep's eyes, but also the fear as 22 tipsy/drunk thorns start to barge into the tent. There's enough space for us. We're not OC damaging anything, but we're getting rowdy. And we're singing Someone Rolled a Piggy. We're playing Daddy No. We're buying a lot of drinks. What happens is, because it's kind of like a semicircle of benches, but then standing space. So we had 2 mini games of Daddy No going on, and they would sometimes intersect with each other.
God, you need to stop saying that out loud.
For those who
It's
don't know, Daddy No
game.
Daddy No is a counting-based game. It's very
university drinking game, isn't it?
That's where I picked it up. I don't know the origins.
I've definitely heard about it in university.
Yeah, but we use
It's one
Daddy
of those
No,
kind of games.
but you can use any funny
You
words.
don't need to go into explain it. Just know it's a drinking game.
I feel like it's the best drinking game. It's better than Whorehouse, which I've heard about. Not a fan of Whorehouse. Not very funny.
Yeah, not as good.
Not so great. Daddy No, fantastic. Because no one can count past 10, is what I've learned. But anyway, we get into this bar, and this is where the orc gloves thing starts to really kick off, because we have Growl with us, who's played one of our friends, associated ex-Black Scar player, went to the Imperial Orcs. But what Jockle has said to me this whole weekend so far is obviously orcs are ex-slaves, so they're shackles. And I have a pair of shackles, they're just a prop that come out. They came out for band stuff, not so much Lindir's stuff. But then Jockle started asking Lindir where his orc gloves were. Lindir does not know what orc gloves are, but these are another slang term for shackles that we've invented. So we started playing a version of do you remember Bogies in Dick and Dom in the
Oh
bungalow?
no.
But we played it with
Did you
orc
actually?
shackles, with an orc in the tent. And as we yell it louder and louder, Growl eventually catches on and he goes, "Why are you all asking about my gloves?" Because he's wearing gloves. At this point, we just comment and say, "Look, it's kind of cold. We're just jealous that you have gloves on. It must be nice." And we narrowly, by the skin of our teeth, get away from a bar fight.
Oh, see, this is a very good friend of ours.
Yeah, oh yeah, OC. We told him at the end, and he was like, "You son of a bitch."
He's also a character who is like super about freedom and freeing or whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's even funnier.
It was a very, very dangerous game to play.
Actually, did not realize that.
Yeah.
And he would have stabbed you.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
like, yeah, we would
would
not
have
won
like
that
taken
fight.
on the entire
Yeah.
crew.
Already drunk as you were.
Yeah. So after that we finish up in that bar. We leave a healthy tip because after Brikeliand we're all ballers now. And then we march down the hill to Uncle Regretio's bar of regrets. We start doing shots. I'm hanging at the back, letting Tiki's new bloods partake in the drinking. Tara and Tree are having a couple good ones, and then suddenly it's my turn, and because I am not quick enough to get the 5 rings out of my pocket, Jockle covers it. And Jockle, of course, goes to point at the one he wants me to drink, and I feel obligated. Now, if you're not familiar with Uncle Regretio's Bar of Regrets, it's basically shot roulette. It's very fun. Most of them are harmless. They're like water, schnapps. You might get vodka in there, mouthwash occasionally. But there are some pretty nasty ones in there, like vinegar. Or in this case, what tasted like a mix of hand cream, toothpaste, and mayonnaise that was frozen and blended and served in a shot cup. Now this shot cup,
What it was?
well, that's what it tasted like before I puked.
Oh.
Spoiler, yeah, it was the most foul thing I've had in my life for like at least 6 months, and and because it was frozen, it was so thick, so they were like chug, chug, chug. It just wouldn't go in, so I had to start sucking. And because I'd already licked the bit of slime that came off the side, I'd licked it, so I already had enough time for this to spread on my palate, which was unpleasant. And then as I suckled from this shot glass, it got thicker and thicker and soapier in my mouth until I could take it no more and just spat and heaved into the bin that they have strategically placed by the bar. So yeah, they got me good. Thanks, Jockle. Thanks, buddy. And everyone else gets by with their shots with no foul event. So very lucky for them, but unfortunate for Lindir. We then move on to the final location of the pub crawl, which is another bar at the bottom of the league. We only went in because it was well lit. We'd kind of done, I say well lit, like it had benches, lots of like little LED flickering lighting. So it was like really thematic, really cool, and also kind of empty. So again, we go in, we're allowed in. Great, business is booming. We fill the place up immediately. Start dropping some heavy coin behind the bar. There's a fantastic Bakewell tart cocktail that is drained within 5 minutes by the platoon. There's loads of other sweet treats related cocktails, beers, wines, ciders. It is a fantastic bar. No idea what the place is called because at this point I am absolutely trashed. And what makes it even better is there was someone selling porn, specifically Kraken porn, or sorry, the Coctopus in this case. And as you can imagine from the name, it was a load of phallic octopus drawings that were incredible. There were small, medium, and large prints. People were buying them by the handful, all comparing our Coctopus loot, and it was the best time. It was absolutely fantastic. And there was one final part to this pub crawl, just to round off.
Good, I was just going to intersect briefly with
Go for it.
A good market for smut in the Empire. Like, it's quite a big, booming business these days.
It's incredible. More of it gets produced, and people want it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
it's the hot thing at the moment.
Yeah, quite literally, some of it is very hot.
Yeah.
I just feel like you go up to a group of people who are 3 or 4 ciders in, and you ask them, "Do you want to buy some?" Excuse me. Do you want to buy some porn? And the answer is almost never going to be no,
Nah.
especially if you give them a little teaser. So this salesperson, she was excellent. She unrolled the bottom half so you could see a couple tentacles with the knobs on the end, and we were like, okay, we've got to see that. That's good quality, smart. So yeah, I think people were dropping like crowns, a couple crowns for each piece,
Nice.
and it was high quality and well worth the cash. So we have a few drinks, sing Summon Roll the Piggy again. The barkeeper's looking a little concerned, but not too fussed. The barkeep then announces, well, if any of you would like something else to do, there's a casino out back. Now, this is music to my ears. Because my favourite thing to do in Anvil is gamble late at night with a load of dog troopers. It feels very dodgy, and it's great. And there's this casino in Varushka.
Nothing bonds you more than that experience.
There's nothing like joint loss.
Yeah.
Nothing like joint loss. So we go into this casino, wondering what it's going to be like. Now, bear in mind the honey pot and the citizen who runs it in Varushka is my favourite place in the Empire, hands down.
Yeah.
It's just better than Gin Club. Sorry, not sorry.
No, it's a great place. It is a great place. It is great.
Surprise, surprise! Honey Pot is being hosted in the league this event. So we go
my
there,
God.
and there is a whole, like a huge, like an oval shaped tent, not circular, but probably sleeps 16, big.
Mhm.
And he's brought there's a table in the corner for like basically the cash desk, and then there's a whole proper Vegas casino table in there. And it's not like on rickety legs or anything. It's stable. I can't imagine the fucking logistics of getting this thing to site. But it's got a roulette wheel inside it. It's got the green felt for everything else. And he's running blackjack, poker, no poker actually, but Texas Hold'em. And then of course roulette. So we go in and we're having some great times on the
He runs the really high stakes, high buy-ins games, right?
you can do, yes.
Whatever you call them when you're in the know of these things.
Private, the high rollers.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a fantastic time, and he goes, Lindir, just the person I wanted to talk to. And I'm like, oh no, God no, what's
What does that
happening?
mean?
And he's like, so I've heard you're a bit of a drug dealer. And I was like, for fuck's sake. Because we haven't seen each other the whole summit. This is a wonderful surprise. I don't think
Have
our
you ever
characters
met
have...
as Lindir?
That's the thing. I think we've
No.
met twice in Varushka. And he's still playing a Varushkan character. It's just geographically the tables in the league.
But
So-
I don't. Has he met Lindir or only Ban?
No, it's like Lindir. E3 and E4.
Oh, okay.
And he sits me down and says, "Look, you're fine company here." And I'm like, "Oh." Lindy gets very happy at that. Just
Compliments.
in it's I've forgotten the word now, but it's that insinuation. There we go. That I'm in charge here. Simply because I'm the loudest
Implication.
and drunkest. But the request is a very ban-like request. But at this point, fuck it. Like, OC, I'm going to go for this. And what has happened is someone has come into the casino, bet, I think it was a couple thrones, on a single hand, won, and then left. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's against the spirit of the casino. So, the kind owner in question asks not for the money back, but just for an example to be made. Gives us a description of the perpetrator
What?
and their wife, and points us in the rough direction. So he wraps up the casino and lets us go first, and he follows up a bit later, and he gets to see all of this, which I'm very happy about. As 22 drunk Navarre dog soldiers stagger towards the Senate building, the scene of all crime, it would seem. Now we surround the building in sections, and I walk in, and the target is positively identified to me with their wife. It's a Tornish earl with a Navarre lass. Now, I tap said
my
earl on the
God.
shoulder, and I'm like, "Been having a nice evening at the tables, have you?" And the look on his face, he's like, "Oh, fuck." Because I'm sat there with my war paint on, and like my red eye, my black eye and everything, staring at him with a couple of equally shady-looking geezers, and then lots of heads poking in from the side. So he immediately realizes something is wrong, but smiles and said, "Oh, no, 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 I gambled fairly, and I won fairly." At this point, Lindir channels his inner criminal, the dark being that resides within all of us, naturally. And
the Chris Hansen.
shut up. Shut up. Everyone has this. I'm not unique. Now, we basically say, step outside. He steps outside, and we pull the classic El Bandito move of surrounding them in a circle. And he's trying to argue with us, as we all have knives drawn at this point, and we're asking for the 2 thrones back. His wife comes over and goes, "What's going on?" I ask her, "Are you his wife?" She goes, "Yes." And I go, "Great, into the circle you go, friend." And she steps in. And I say, "There are going to be consequences if you don't pay up. Because we're going to hurt your wife first."
Oh my god.
And before anyone has a chance to go, "Ooh," or react, she pulls her knife on him and says, "Give them what they want." But it's not like a, "Oh, no, don't hurt me, give them what they want." It's a, "Give them what they want right now, or I will hurt you, because you're putting me in danger."
God.
And at this point, his tune immediately changes, and we get our cash. Fantastic end, as we go back into the Senate building, and we count it up. The thrones are being counted on the arms of the throne. As our anonymous benefactor looks on. And then we're going to have a chat.
Very anonymous.
Yeah, very anonymous, with a occupation and location named in the podcast. But anyone who abuses this IC will find you. We won't do anything, but we'll be very
might
disappointed.
threaten your wife.
Yeah, we'll threaten your wife. But very happy, very good ending. We wrap it up, and it's time out. That's the end of the bar crawl. Absolutely outstanding. Outstanding evening. Could not have gone better. Especially with all of the spicy questions the next day that we'll cover on the next episode of Lindir, Where's My Cut?
Saturday was a good day.
I know I've been talking for longer than my 6 minutes of allocated time.
Allowed.
No, I hadn't heard any of this. It was really nice to hear.
However, there is
it's also
one.
your podcast, sir.
Well, I'm not a tyrant. I like to think of myself as a
Communist.
as a warlord. But anyway, did any of you had anything to add? Basically, between like 12 and 1 a.m.
No, just
No?
great chats. I will say one of the most interesting parts of my conversations can be reduced to Immortal Troll Soul. Also, Low Fear No, and Barons maybe. And that's it. It's great. Oh, also, Rizat and Esteban are definitely going to get married.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. We talked to them. This was Rizat's idea. And we spoke to them both about it. It's going to happen.
It's on the podcast, so it will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This podcast is 100%
The great
based.
Rizat Dance Walker and Esteban something.
Iguera, Feroz, whatever it is.
Frost Coast. One of those three.
We need to give Esteban a shorter name. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but
Oh, you pulled that joke.
all right, sorry.
No, that joke's that joke's for Sunday.
Yeah, that's one for Sunday.
That joke is for Sunday. No, it's not for Sunday. We pulled that joke. What day did we pull that on? Was it Sunday? It can't have been for spoilery reasons.
Well, listeners, if you want to know, go and listen to the Sunday episode that hasn't been made yet, or to the Friday episode, because we all seem to forget what's going on, don't we, guys?
Oh,
Yeah, we do.
it's been too many weeks. This is going to turn into the
2.
longest path. It already has.
Oh, don't you dare. The longest path was nearly 6 months, start to finish.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to finish this before
It was a
eating.
very long path.
Yeah.
Oh, the cat is yelling at me that it's probably time to sign up. Yes, I can hear you too.
Oh, I
Navari
heard a little
cat.
bit of that. That's very sweet. I have one more thing to
Yeah.
add. It's going to be vague
Mhm.
to protect
Go on
identities.
for it.
But
Go
there's
for it.
someone in Navarre I like a lot. We went out for a drink, and the 20 throne piece that came into play as we went to a bar in Dawn, just before the final act of Songs and Stories. And at this point, I hand a coin to them, And when we get a couple ciders, and they say, oh, that'll be, a crown, they say, can you break this? And they hand across the 20 thrown piece. And the look on the bartender's face, it is incredible. Just a moment of shock after they realise what they're holding. They get a couple of the other staff over who can indeed confirm it's a 20 thrown piece as they shine 4 different torch beams on it, going, holy fuck, we've never seen anything like this. Like neither had I until the day before, and they got to hold it, and they were like, "Oh my god!"
None of us had even seen a 5 thrown until this point, so a 5 and a 20 in one weekend was kind of incredible.
Absolutely nuts. And they're like, "No, we can't do this. We can't do this." And the bar goes quiet. Everyone's looking around at us two, the holders of the 20 thrown piece.
Yeah, that's dangerous, man.
And the best part is this citizen. I don't know who you are. But they just came in like a car salesman and go, are you the people who are spending 20 thrones at this bar? I have 10 thrones worth of mana crystals. Would you like to buy them? At this point, I respond.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's a lot. But at this point, I've got...
It's also just good salesmanship.
Yeah, opportunity, and you don't ask, don't get. Now, at this point, I've had 5 ciders, and there's no way in hell I want to buy... It's just not a good idea to buy 10 throne of mana crystals at 12.49 on a 0.49 on a Sunday morning. But anyway, we go, well, 10 thrones is a bit small, isn't it? Have you got 20 thrones worth? And the look on this dealer's face as his world shatters around him, and it felt very much like 1800s landed English gentry of going,
interacts with
10
the peasantry.
thrones, how poor, loathsome dung eater you are. And
we only have 2 homes.
Yeah, literally, and we just laughed at him. Not like at him, but like in a silly kind of way. But it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We get the I drop a crown on the bar. We get the thrown piece back. Absolute highlight of the evening as well. And just the bartender had his head in his hands, like. Just put them on the side of his head and was just rocking back and forth like, we can't do this. We can't give you change. just utterly unable to comprehend what he's just seen. I think the yeoman just saw, half the GDP of his household for the whole year in one small little circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, very fun.
I would also turn to crime if I saw someone waving around a 20 throwing piece. That instinct would flare up. Oh, yeah, there was one thing that happened in the evening, which was just that in terms of wider campaign, we got some bad news about some stuff that we wanted to happen. So I had to scramble quickly to make a decision. So I had a chat with my adjutant, best adjutant, Maddock, and got that sorted. So I was actually working in Gin Club, I'll have you know.
I very much was enjoying gin and talking to a lot of people.
I was also mostly enjoying the gin. There was some good gin.
But we'd said this, so I think that was it.
Yeah.
I think that genuinely was Saturday. I think we made it.
Yeah.
It ends with Larkin and Shattersong sitting in the Black Skull camp alone in front of the dying embers, eating burrito after burrito,
and then climbing into bed to go unconscious for the second last time.
Spoilers. Spoilers for the pain that I'm going to be feeling. But yeah, that's it. That's Saturday.
Yeah. You heard it here, citizens. You want some pain? Sign in next time to the Sunday episode, which is going to have a very sad thumbnail on it.
I've seen it. It's sad.
Dead yet?
Not yet, but we're getting there.
Dead
minute by minute. All right, folks. Let's wrap up the podcast there. Goodbye. Good luck.
Cheers.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.
See you next time.